first word. It's thank you for being here at the end for some of us of a long and stimulating day. It's very, I think it's a very emotional moment for many of us. I guess for me in particular, because I actually still have my text chain with Daniel Cohen. And one of the last texts I sent him, not quite the last one, but one of the last text message I sent him was with a photo taken from the back of the room of Pascaline Dupas speaking at this forum and telling him vous me manquez, je pense à vous. Voilà, c'est Pascaline qui parle, donc je vous envoie une photo. The reason being, of course, this forum was the brainchild of Daniel Cohen, who wanted academics to have to be in connection to the biggest problem of society and to have this connection. And I think that's what we are doing in those 3 days. And also, he just truly loved Pascaline's work. Not because of Pascaline, who has many reasons to be loved, but because of the work itself that is very practical, that is on the field, that asks very original questions, and so on. And for this reason, I think he would have been even more... he would have been delighted had he known that one of the things we decided to do to honor his legacy with the École Normale and Paris School of Economics, and I salute Frédéric Worms and Jean-Olivier Hérault here, and with the family and the friends of Daniel Cohen, was to create an award for a PhD, for a graduating PhD student, because he was the ultimate teacher, and he was very proud of his students and very excited to see other students, and also was so curious about the work about anybody, and very so happy to see it being highlighted. So I think he would have loved this. He would have think it's important. He would have loved that we decide to circumscribe the prize in connection to this forum that is itself, in addition, connecting our school to the biggest problem of the day. And he would have loved Nina's work. So with that, I'm going to first give the floor to Martin Andler, who is the president, director, boss, head of the alumni of A-Ulm, the association of the anciens élèves of École normale supérieure, and who are generously funding this prize. And then he will give the relay to Michel Cohen, who is also actually, whose family is also generously funding this prize, and will deliver the prize to Nina. And finally, Nina will grace us with a presentation of her work. So that's the plan for the next 30 minutes or so.
Thank you. I'm both proud and moved to be here, because I knew Daniel for about 50 years. So his trajectory epitomizes the best of what an alumnus of École normale supérieure can be. Not because he would have been the best mathematician in his class. Instead, he was somewhat rebellious at the time and more interested in what was going on outside than what was going on in his math classes. In the mid-70s, of course, a lot was happening. It was the end of the Trente Glorieuses, the emergence of mass unemployment, the emergence of immigration as a political issue in the French context. And all of these things were what he was interested in, and actually what our group of somewhat rebellious students were interested in. It is from political awareness that came his interest for economics. And he could have taken advantage of the fact that he was a mathematician, and a good mathematician, and to use his high mathematical ability to work on sophisticated mathematical models in macroeconomics, but he chose another path. He always remained true to the idea that economics was here to understand society. And this is what he did for 50 years. And many of those 50 years, he was a teacher. He was a very devoted teacher. He was a teacher for many years at École normale supérieure. He trained lots of people, and as a teacher at École Normale Supérieure, he also created, for the first time, a real economics department, strong economics department here, and this led to the creation of the Paris School of Economics. I follow economics from far away, but obviously what economists study has changed in a remarkable way in the past years. Danielle probably would have been very fascinated by Nina Buchmann's work. Your study of the paternalistic discrimination and its unintended consequences, but actually I would prefer to use the French term effet pervers, because I'm not sure that the unintended consequences are completely unintended, if I understand what you're saying, is absolutely fascinating. And as a mathematician, and confronted with the fact that many young women do not go into mathematics, I think that this idea of paternalistic discrimination would definitely apply to the kind of recommendations that we make to young women to keep them away from mathematics. So I hope that in your future work, maybe you will address this work, and I really congratulate you for having obtained the prize.
Dear Esther and the members of the jury, dear Martin, dear Frédéric, dear Jean-Olivier, dear Nina, dear all. Last year on the same day, my brother was in an hospital room plagued with a rare blood disease. He was wondering when he would recover and resume his busy life. As for us, we would visit him wondering what present we should take for his birthday coming on the following week. Nobody expected, not even himself, that he would pass away so young at the height of his career in the very first days of his so-called retirement. This is why he left us with so few instructions regarding his legacy. The only thing he told me before he died was, if anything happens to me, I entrust you to take care of everything. Meaning, bro, just deal with it, and better be good at it. That was my brother. So with his wife Martine, who is here, his daughter Pauline, who will be here in 10 minutes, his peers like Esther, Martin, Frédéric, or Jean-Olivier, we relentlessly wonder, what would Daniel want? Each of us carries a part of this great responsibility of inventing and honoring his legacy by doing the right thing up to his demanding standards. Today, thanks to all of you, I have no doubt that wherever he is nodding in appreciation of what is going on in this conference room bearing his name. I think that he would be happily surprised that the Daniel Cohen Prize of Economy, awarded by Esther and such prestigious jury and institutions, would reward the best PhD of the year in its category. My brother, as you said, loved to study market discrepancies. When it came to the job market biases and inefficiencies, he would deep dive into it and debate it at length like a delicacy. So, Nina, thanks to you, we got the perfect gift for my brother's birthday. A whole PhD mentored by your standard professor and his student Pascaline Dupas on women's job discrimination in emerging countries. I can feel his presence today and how he could be burning to meet you in person and comment your work in his inimitable way of speaking too fast, a bit like me, jumping from one idea to the other, connecting invisible dots, with the move of his arms, giving you 1,000 new directions and encourage you in your young and bright career. So, Nina, in the name of my brother and all our family, the Paris School of Economics, the École Normale Supérieure, the CEPR, the alumni A-Ulm, I hope I'm not forgetting anyone, it's a privilege and an honor to give you the first Daniel Cohen Prize of Economy. With all my warmest congratulations.
Okay, I'm going to start by thanking you all for this honor. It's really a huge honor to receive this award in the memory of Daniel Cohen, who was both an exceptional researcher, able to bridge the gap across academic disciplines and between academia and policy, so really what this forum is about. And also what I've learned really in the last few weeks and months, an absolutely outstanding mentor. A big fraction of his academic family is here today, who really inspired his students to study important questions and to have an important policy impact worldwide. So it's really a privilege to receive this award today. Thank you so much. And with that, a bit hard after these emotional speeches, let me tell you a bit about my research. My name is Nina, and I'm a graduate student at Stanford, about to graduate in now 9 days. And in my research, I work in gender inequality, in particular in low-income countries. In particular, what I'm interested in is combining psychology and combining economics to study the drivers of gender inequality. Some questions that I've been working on is the role of child marriage, the reputation concerns, and explaining why many families still marry their children as child brides, and the role of reputation concerns in explaining why women have limited bargaining power inside the household. I'm also interested in studying whether low self-esteem might explain intimate partner violence, so violence from husbands towards wives, and whether it might play a role in explaining the income gradient in intimate partner violence that we observe, both across countries and within countries. And finally, what I'm going to talk to you about today, I'm studying the role of altruism in explaining discrimination. So with that, let me show you a few statements so you can think about whether or not these statements are discriminatory in nature. The first statement is from a New York Times article that was discussing the fact that doctors in the US often still refuse to sterilize young women, even though it's their legal right to choose sterilization for themselves. And one doctor here gave us as a reason that he was worried that the women would change their mind and make a mistake. The second statement is from the latest UN STEM report, which was discussing exactly what we just heard, that globally women are still much less likely to choose studying a STEM subject than men are. And this was a statement from a young woman that said she wanted to study a STEM subject, but was discouraged to do so from her parents, family, and friends because they thought it was too difficult to make a career in science for a woman. And the final statement is from a former IBM employee who was up for promotion and felt that her father overwhelmed her. "I can't have you in that role. You're a woman." And I said, "Why is that?" He said, "Well, I wouldn't feel like you'd be safe because the promotion, this new management role, would require this woman to spend substantial time in Latin America, and her manager thought that this would be unsafe for a young unmarried woman." So for you to consider whether or not these statements are discriminatory in nature, let me walk you through the two forms of discrimination that economics differentiate between. Imagine an employer who's hiring for a night shift job and is deciding between two applicants, a man and a woman. First, the employer might say, "I like women less than men." That's what we define as taste-based discrimination. And second, the employer might say, "I think women are less productive than men." That's what we define as statistical discrimination. So going back to these statements, yes, maybe some of them are taste-based in nature, or some of them are statistical in nature, but maybe there's also a third form of discrimination underlying these statements altogether. For example, the employer might say, "Working at night is too dangerous for women." So maybe there's a third form of discrimination that stems from employers caring about their workers' welfare, or what we call in the psychology and economics literature, other regarding. Maybe if employers are other regarding, they care about others, they might not hire women for jobs when they think the welfare is low. And here we differentiate between two types of employers in my paper. First, they're differential employers. Differential employers want to defer to the applicant to decide what's best for them. So essentially, differential employers think that applicants are the best judges of worker welfare. And second, they're paternalistic employers. Paternalistic employers want to paternalistically decide for applicants what is best for them. So essentially, the paternalistic employer thinks that they themselves, the employers, are the best judges of worker welfare. And today I'm going to show you evidence for paternalistic discrimination in hiring decisions against women in Bangladesh. But paternalistic discrimination might occur in many other settings. For example, there are currently 52 countries that limit women's ability to work in dangerous jobs, and there are 23 countries that limit women's ability to work at night. Outside of hiring decisions, paternalistic discrimination might occur in task assignments and promotions. For example, employers might not assign hard tasks or not promote their pregnant workers or women who recently had a child because they think they already have enough on their plates. And there's also evidence, ample evidence from the psychology literature that women receive different professional advice than men, and that both parents and teachers are more protective of young girls than of young boys. And finally, paternalistic discrimination might not be only targeted against women. It could also be targeted against men for female stereotype jobs, people with disability, or people of color. Here might be akin to what we all often call the white savior complex. So in the paper, I answered 3 questions. What is paternalistic discrimination? Does it exist? And does it matter? And I contribute to 3 literatures. First, I contribute to the literature on discrimination. And here I'm most closely related to the literature from psychology and law on benevolent sexism. Benevolent sexism are attitudes that consider women as more innocent and therefore worthy of protection than men. And then I contribute to the literature in psychology and economics on other regarding preferences by testing whether also employers have other regarding preferences, so whether they care about their workers. And then finally, I contribute to the literature on female employment that tries to understand the low employment of women in many countries, in particular in low-income countries and countries with strong gender norms. And today I'm going to show you results from the first experiment, which is an experiment in employers. I do 2 experiments, one experiment with employers and one experiment with applicants. Today I'm going to focus on the employer experiment. So I want to understand whether employers engage in paternalistic discrimination. To test whether employers engage in paternalistic discrimination, I want to see whether they hire their workers differentially when they think the workers' welfare is low or high. So I want to vary employers' perceptions about workers' welfare. The problem is, when varying worker welfare, we might also change taste-based and statistical discrimination. For example, maybe the employer might say, what kind of woman is going to work at night? I don't like that kind of woman. That would be taste-based discrimination. Or the employer might say, I think women who work at night, they're going to be worried, they're going to quit, so that's not going to be helpful for my profits. That's going to be statistical discrimination. So what we're going to do is design an experiment in Dhaka, Bangladesh, in which we can vary employers' perceptions about worker welfare while keeping everything else constant. And in this experiment, we're going to answer 2 questions. First, are employers other regarding? So do they care about their workers' welfare? And second, are they paternalistic? Do they want to paternalistically decide what's best for women's welfare? So to understand whether employers are other regarding, we created an Excel job in the night shift. And this Excel job provided all workers free and safe transport home after the shift. We had 495 men and 495 women among the applicants that we selected for this experiment. Importantly, all applicants, when they replied to the job posting, did not know about the safe transport. They all applied to a job ad for a 1-shift opportunity without any mention of safe transport. All applicants only learn about the safe transport after the shift. So on the applicant side, we keep everything fixed. All applicants apply to a job without transport. The employers are employers from businesses in Dhaka, Bangladesh that we recruited to make hiring choices for us. So they're lending us their expertise to make hiring choices for our job. And here, importantly, on the employer side, we vary whether or not the employers know about the safe transport before they make their hiring choices. So this is a randomized control trial where we inform half of the employers about the transport and don't inform the other half. Importantly, even the applicants who know about the transport the employers who know about the transport know that the applicants don't know about it. And the employers are paid based on the productivity of their hired workers in the job, so that they have a real incentive to pay attention in their hiring decisions and hire the most productive workers. So we want to understand whether employers hire women differentially when they know or don't know about the safe transport. But we need to make sure that this is not driven by taste-based or statistical discrimination. First, this should not be driven by taste-based discrimination because the employers know that none of the applicants know about the safe transport. So the transport does not signal anything about this kind of woman so that the employer might like her less. Either way, employers make hiring choices for women who are willing to do this job without transport. So taste-based discrimination should be the same across the two treatment arms. And second, we want to ensure that differences in hiring decisions across those two transport treatment arms are not driven by statistical discrimination. So employers may be thinking, oh, women will be less likely to show up to the shift when they don't know about the transport. They'll be less productive because they're worried about how they're going to get home, and they're more likely to quit. We're holding this constant because all employers know that workers get to the shift by themselves using their own transport, perform the job without knowing about the transport. Remember, they only find out about it after the shift, and there's no second shift. So there's no concern that women will quit on their way home and not come back the next day. There is no next day. So across both treatment arms, employers make hiring choices for the same kind of women who are willing to do this job without transport, who perform the same job at the same time and with the same information. The only thing that varies across those two transport treatment is the employer's perception of the worker welfare when the job is already done. So let me show you the main results. On the y-axis are the share of women that are hired when the employers know about the transport and when the employers don't know about the transport. We see that 45% of women are hired when the employers know about the transport, and that not informing employers about the safe transport reduces the female hiring by 22%. So women are 22% less likely to be hired for this night shift opportunity when their employers don't know about the transport. Now, is this really driven by other regarding preferences, so by employers caring about the welfare of their workers? To test this, we administer an other regarding module to all employers at the end of the shift, where we try to find out how much they care about women. And I'm going to show you here results for employers who care relatively less and relatively more for women. So when the employers know about the transport, we see that the two employer groups hire women at about the same rates. It's only when the employers don't know about the transport that the two groups diverge. Namely, employers who care more about women's welfare react 4 times as much to the information about the transport. So only when employers don't know about the transport do employers who care more about women's welfare hire them less. So this suggests that we have substantial evidence for other regarding preferences in this setting. Employers hire women less when they think women's welfare is low. Now next, we want to understand whether this is really paternalistic, so whether employers want to paternalistically decide what is best for women's welfare. To test this, we cross-randomized our employers, so we randomized our employer set in 2 different treatment arms. First, some of the employers, we told them, hey, every time you hire a woman, she receives a surprise cash payment at the end of the shift that is large enough for her to purchase the safe transport herself. So now this woman gets the cash and then can decide herself what she wants to do with it, whether or not she wants to purchase the transport. And then half of the employers did not know about a cash payment to women at the end of the shift. So I'm going to now show you whether these cash payments increase hiring of women. So here again, on the y-axis, the share of women that are hired when the employers know or don't know about the transport. These are the results that I just showed you a few slides ago. The hiring of women when employers don't know about any cash payments. Now, when we tell employers who know about the transport that women will receive a cash payment at the end of the shift, they actually hire women 16% more. So this is additional evidence for employers being other regarding, caring about women's welfare. They also now hire women more when women's wages are high. But the real question is, what happens when employers know that there's a cash payment, but they don't know about the transport? An employer who's deferential, who wants to defer to women to decide what is best for them, would want to hire the woman more with the cash than the transport. Because the cash allows the woman to decide herself what she wants to do with what is best for her. It allows herself to decide whether or not to purchase the transport. Only if an employer is paternalistic, so if they want to paternalistically decide for the women what is best for them, should they hire the woman more with the transport than with the cash, because the cash still allows the woman to purchase the transport herself if she wants to. But we observe that the opposite is true. We observe that employers still hire women significantly less with cash than with transport. So we find that employers hire women with transport, but not with cash that allows women to purchase the safe transport. Employers paternalistically decide for women that they can do the job with transport, but not the option to decide themselves whether or not to get the transport. So the answer to our second question appears that yes, employers in our setting here are paternalistic. They paternalistically decide for women that they can only do this job with safe transport. I'm going to give you very brief some results about who are these employers who engage most in paternalistic discrimination. First, we find that female employers, which is a small sample for us in this setting, they don't react at all to the information about the transport. It's only the male employers who react to the information. And we find that they react substantially more when women are inexperienced, so when they have little experience in the labor market, or when they have children. So potentially employers in our setting might also be concerned with the welfare of the children of the women who want to work in this night shift job. So let me tell you a bit about the implications that this research might have. First, these results feed directly into ongoing policy debates in Bangladesh. The 2006 Labor Act limits women's ability to work at night. Women in Bangladesh are only allowed to work at night if they sign a special consent form that is not required of male workers. And because public transport during the day and at night is considered to be very dangerous in Bangladesh by the government is considering right now safe transport as one of its policy focuses in its current five-year planning plan. So last August, I had the privilege to actually discuss these results or show these results with the Minister of Planning in Bangladesh. And I hope to be able to continue these discussions over the next few years to show paternalistic discrimination or show the importance of paternalistic discrimination across different industries. But paternalistic discrimination more broadly can affect women's career trajectories. In the hiring experiment, we find that it is largest against women who are just at the beginning of their career, against inexperienced women. But it might also occur in many other settings, not at the hiring stage. For example, when women are being assigned tasks on the job, in promotion decisions, or in layoff decisions. In future work, I want to study paternalistic discrimination inside the households. In particular, we know that women are less confident, less competitive, and more risk-averse than men. And I'm wondering whether that might be partly the result of early life paternalistic discrimination. Parents and teachers being more protective of young girls than young boys during some of the most formative stages of their life might affect their preferences, making them less confident, less competitive, and more risk-averse later in life. Thank you so much.
Let me say some words to conclude ceremony. So I would say that when we announced the prize, I think it was less than 1 year, it was in September, we know that we have to deliver and to be present, and to be able to propose you the prize. And what was the roadmap? I would say we follow with Esther, especially because we want to organize something what Daniel will be proud of, and to be interesting in, exciting, to be very, say by the work, and it was really the roadmap. And I would say that first, it would be very proud of the fact that it would be a prize delivered, organized jointly by École Normale Supérieure and Paris School of Economics first. And it was something important to do together in the continuity of what Daniel did for joint, force, and to organize this collaboration and very tight links together. To be present in this forum, the framework of this forum, said by Esther, it was something that Daniel think about PC and to be present in the public debate and research, very useful for policy. So it was really the right place to be. This framework, funded by alumni, ENS, École Normale Supérieure. So it would be also something very. But Daniel would be very happy. I can say that. Sorry, but I could say it is the word for sure. And awarded by Michel, and in presence of the daughter. I don't see Pauline, but we'll be very happy of that. So all these things, I think it's a very something to say that we think a lot, Daniel, this period. And I would say also that don't forget that all this thing has been made possible, the organization by Louise Gadras. I don't know where is Louise, and Cécile Gerbal, of the organization here in Paris School of Economics. So thank you for making things possible. And again, I would say some words about the laureate and the fact that maybe Esther could testify that we receive a very, very amazing work, from PhD students, and Daniel would be very happy too. That would be word, from PhD students, the supervision of Pascaline, for sure. But again, I think everything is, going together to that. I think Daniel will be very happy. So thank you very much, everybody, and I think now we have a drink together, and thank you for being here.